All right, so the next one here, let's have a look. Oh, I apologize, it didn't copy over the name. Let me just go and chase that up for us. Oh, I'll get the name in a second whilst you're answering it. I'm sorry about this.
Okay.
So it's a free resource that helps purpose-driven business owners take a regenerative approach to their business so that they can create more impact, more income, and build deeper relationships with the people they support in a way that's sustainable. Um, so, right, okay. It's a Hubs question. They've got a workbook. They're planning on making it into a webinar. They're looking for hubs. They say, I see it as being of most value to corporate escapees who've started a business as a coach, consultant, or wellness practitioner, but have carried over many of the working practices from their old way of working. Um, yeah, there's also help them building a framework that's based on their core mission. Yeah, indeed. So there's lots of stuff that isn't particularly specific for someone who's just reading it to figure out. But essentially, yeah. So ex-corporates moving into coach, consultant, or wellness practitioner, making a workbook into a webinar, looking for hubs.
Right. And so their thing is about how to do this in a sustainable way, kind of where you don't burn out, is the basic idea.
Um, they're keeping very busy with most of their lead to more, with most of their attention going into creating the perfect product or service, believing that this will lead to more sales without realizing that it's just one piece of the puzzle.
So they're kind of a business coach for coaches for people who are leaving the corporate world. Does that make sense?
Purpose-driven business owners take a reject. I mean, this is part of the joy of finding a like being able to word the niche really strongly, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it helps purpose-driven business owners take a regenerative approach to their business so that they can create more impact, more income, and build deeper relationships with the people they support in a way that's sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a bit of a mouthful. So there's room to probably hone that. But I think I get the idea.
Mhm.
Um, well, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have an easy answer for this. Where do you find these corporate escapees, these people who worked in a corporate world and now are starting a coaching business? Here's my concern with what I heard, and Fred, maybe you've got a different sense of it. But my concern is it sounds like most business coaches, right? Most marketing coaches for coaches, like people like me. It sounds like myself, I could name a lot of colleagues who I think generally have that. Um, and so then it becomes tricky. I just feel a little lost. Like, oh, well, then it's the same kind of hubs I would have. It'd be podcasts, it'd be coaching schools, I guess, if you wanted to reach them early on. Uh, so this is the kind of situation where okay, so let me pull this up here from a webinar that I've done around ideal client. This is the beast. I mean, God, there's no, of course, shame in not having this perfect. But this is when I'm hearing a target market, what I definitely don't want to do, or if I'm articulating, is I don't want people to go fuzzy in the head. I don't want to have such a run-on sentence, that people are just like, "Whoa, I lost the first part of the sentence, and I'm drowning," which was happening for me a bit as I was listening to it. It was like I'm sort of getting it, but so we want to see, can we distill this down to like 3 to 7 words for island A, 3 to 7 words for island B? Like, what's the problem? 3 to 7 words. What's the result they're craving? 3 to 7 words. I mean, Joe Byron Russell, what happened to us for couples struggling? 4 words. And you get the pithy essence. Are you parenting with a narcissistic partner or ex? It's very clear what the situation is. And in this one, I find myself a little lost. And so it's good to remember when we are articulating an ideal client, there are multiple levels of this. And so, okay, yeah, there's 5 levels. And we'll do a screen share of this. This is, by the way, coming up. I've got my ideal client webinar coming up next week, I think, on what date is it today? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong month. The 27th, I believe, of March. I've got my ideal client webinar. So here's a little teaser of one of the central things we're going to be looking at in much more detail in that webinar. Okay, so it's this, right? There are these 5 levels, and you notice that it's like you imagine the game is this. So you get 5 arrows, and you're trying to get one in every single spot. So the goal is to get 11,111 points. That's the game. And of course, if you get a bullseye, that's the full 10,000. But I don't know if you go out here, it's 5,000, that's 3,000, that's 2,000. That's, you know, so it's not a binary exactly. But these are the 5 things that we're looking at. So in the bullseye, we've got the issue. That's your big one. That's the 10,000 points. If that arrow misses, the most you're going to get is 1,111 points. So we got to get this nailed as much as possible, because sometimes this just isn't even there, or it's so fuzzy. So you know, it's not a bullseye; it's up there somewhere. And also, it's an issue ideally that is a little more narrow. Of course, the broadest is people struggling with problems. That's just way too broad. But then we say, okay, people struggling with their health. That's much more narrow, but it's still almost everybody. Okay, well, people struggling with their pain or something. Okay, well, there's a lot, or weight loss, right? Oh my God, there's so many people doing weight loss. So you're still lost in a sea of competition, because the issue that you're helping is everybody else is helping on that. That's not the end of the story. There's more to niching than this, but it doesn't help necessarily. That's not going to be the thing then that sets you apart. And if you're a service provider, that's probably the main thing we're looking at, is just, do you have an issue that is clear enough that you're helping people with, that somebody could read it and say, that's me? And then there's a whole separate conversation outside of ideal client around your point of view, which can be woven into the headline. You know, Suzanne Kohlberg from my mentorship, and who's been in the membership, she did weight loss stuff for a while, and her headline was something like, what if we're overweight because we overgive? Because her experience directly was that she knew what to do to get healthier, lose weight, but she didn't do it because she always helping other people. She knew she needed to meditate, rest, do some meal prep, but she was so busy helping other people, and she'd get stressed, then she'd eat foods that weren't healthy for her. You know, it was that cycle. But so you can see in the headline, you've got both the issue and the point of view. You've got the weight issue, and then you've got the point of view about overgiving. So all that to say, there is point of view that could be woven in here, but just to simplify, there's the issue, then there's the musts. So the musts are, there are certain things like how much money people are going to need to spend, the materials they'll need in working with you, the time that they'll need to spend, the philosophical musts that you need to be on the same page on. That's part of it. What are the psychographics? You know, I find myself curious about that one. In this case, you know, what type of person are we talking about? What are they into? For example, just the other day, I had a puttering session with a woman who so check out this thread. She says, I help people with, I do aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is none of these, right? That's the boat from island A to B. That's the boat. It's not the issue at all. It's none of these. And she said, but my challenge is that people just think I sell essential oils, and they think I'm in a multi-level marketing company, and I see their eyes kind of widen, and they back away. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I said, is there a main issue that you help people? She said, yes, anxiety. That's the issue. But she hadn't mentioned that. Right. So now we're immediately clear. I said, is there anything else that you do? Oh, flower essences too. And I said, anything else? She said, that's it. I said, do you talk to people at all? Like, do you have any therapeutic conversations about the anxiety? Oh, actually, yeah, that's one of the most powerful parts. I'm like, fuck, I can't believe it. So, she walks in talking about the boat, but we realize this is really about anxiety. But then we get to the it's not the must, but we get into the psychographics of what are the inner qualities. Turns out she's Christian. And that's a big part of her life. She's also into sci-fi. And I said, what's interesting is, I said, first of all, how would you feel if 80% of your clients fit this psychographic of Christian? She said, oh, that would be amazing. If it was the right kind, it's a wild and broad bunch. But so, yeah, generally she'd feel great if they were Christians. And I said, if your psychographics were you're Christian of a certain denomination or perspective, and you're into sci-fi, what a beautiful thing, because they probably, the type of Christians you're talking about, don't feel comfortable in a lot of the Christian world. And she said, that's true. And she said, they also don't feel comfortable in the sci-fi world, because the sci-fi nerds are usually atheists and they're dicks about it, So suddenly, and then I said, could you come up with an offer that's around anxiety for Christians? And all of a sudden, she had all these books that were like, oh, this book by this Christian author about how the Gospels relate to anxiety. She had all these things, but that came from this. And so in the example that you read, I didn't hear, no psychographics really jumped out at me. The word regenerative was interesting, because that speaks to a certain understanding. I understand it from permaculture. So maybe there's that. Right, then what are the demographics? Any of the outer things, income, age, where they live, potentially. And then qualities, that's only one point. It's the least important. So, just so people can get a screenshot if they want it. This is what we're talking about with the 5 levels. Now, Fred, can you paste that first part in the chat? So I'd love to read it one more time so we can circle back to it, having laid all that out, and then we can start to look at.
And I paste it, mate. It's on the others.
Yeah, it's.
Let's have a look.
We may do a little bit of parsing here of this, of what was written. Clarity is the thing. The confused mind has no. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's from Debbie in the Facebook group. That's who it's from. I
Yeah,
apologize, Debbie, for not getting your name out.
Thank you, Debbie.
Where has... Oh, it's full screen because you're sharing the screen.
All
right, into the chat we go. And here is the text from Debbie. And thank you, Debbie, for your question.
Great. So I've developed a free resource that helps here. Let me actually, I'm going to, just so everyone can see this, and maybe what I'm going to do is a little bit of stop sharing. I'm going to bust open a Google Doc, and we're going to actually parse this together. So Debbie, so you can see, and I can see too, is because when it gets this long, it's sometimes tricky to follow, but now we can all follow this together. Okay. So paste this here and make it nice and big. Great. Now I'm going to screen share. Okay. So there we go. We can all see this, right? So I've developed a free resource that helps purpose. Okay. So this, I'm just going to put comments on things so you can see. This is the boat. Right.
For anyone starting up with this being their first video, the boat, islands A and B.
Yeah. So island A is the problem they have. It's an island. They don't want to be there. They've got some symptoms they don't want. Island B, they really want to get to. That's some result that they are just yearning for. And your business is like a boat that can get them from one island to the other. So this free resource, that's part of the boat. It's part of the offer. So maybe I won't do it on the side. We'll just do it here. So that's the boat that help purpose-driven business owners. Okay, so this is who, right? Take a regenerative approach. Okay, now this is where this is where I was getting tripped up. This is technically island B, but the big question is this: are they craving a regenerative approach? Meaning, are people coming to Debbie saying, Debbie, can you help me take a regenerative approach to my business? Are they using those words? Or is this actually, so is this island B? Or is this what you want for them? What you think they need? Yeah. Is this kind of your prescription, in other words? So I'm not convinced that that is island B. I'm not convinced anyone sitting there thinking, I just want to take a more regenerative approach and would use that language. Yeah. So island B / prescription. I don't know. The question is, are they aware of this? Are they coming in hot with the regenerative approach thing? If so, it's island B. If not, it isn't. I suspect it's not. All right, so they want to take a regenerative approach to their business so they can create more impact, more income, build deeper relationships with the people they support in a way that is sustainable. Okay, sustainable, I think, is probably a more likely word. They're going to, regenerative is a bit niche. But these particular, okay, so more impact, more income, deeper relationships. It's true, but this is what I would call, it's island B, but it's shallow and wide. It's not narrow and deep. I mean, like, yeah, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to have more impact and more income and build deeper relationships with the people they support? This is true for all humans on the planet. But do you want to learn how to co-parent with your narcissistic partner in a way that your kids are spared the worst of it? No, not everybody wants that, because not everybody's in that situation. Do you want to learn how to lead a life that makes your kids proud? Not if you're not a parent. You see what I'm saying? It's true, people crave this, but I don't think we've gotten to the pith of it, because I also don't think, okay, we got to go back here. Purpose-driven business owners. It's a very broad statement, and I don't know anybody who identifies with this title. And I know a lot of people who we could put in that box, who I might say are a purpose-driven entrepreneur, but they have never once in their life introduced themselves as, hi, my name's John. I'm a purpose-driven entrepreneur. Yeah, so I just don't know who we're talking about. We're purpose-driven business owner. I don't know what type of business, by the way. Are they a carpet manufacturer? Because I can name a purpose-driven carpet manufacturer. Ray Anderson of Interface. Are we talking clothing? Are we talking, product services? What do we mean? What kind of business? A dry cleaner, a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker? I don't know from this. So, okay, so I see it as being most valuable to core escapees who've started a business as a coach, consultant, or wellness practitioner. Okay, so right away, that's clear. So if we just said that helps coaches, consultants, and wellness practitioners, and we just cut this entirely, that would be clear. Because that phrase, this is what you would call an umbrella phrase. How do I? Go straight through. Text that right up. Yeah. This is an umbrella phrase. Like I might say conscious entrepreneurs or hippie entrepreneurs, but that's for me. That's not to use in sales copy. Nobody relates to it, even though it does help me kind of get a general sense of who I work with. I would say it as a joke in a networking event. I help hippies in business, and people sort of laugh at it. They have a general sense, but not really. I have to keep talking for them to get it. Okay, but corporate escapees. So yeah, I mean, actually, I mean, we could just move this whole thing here. That helps corporate escapees who've started a business as a coach. Great. Now I'm clear. I wasn't with that. Right. Carried over many of the working practices of their old way of working. Okay, that's not a problem. So this is a point of view piece. This is something that Debbie's noticing that they've done. But so what? I mean, I will say this, the corporate world has way better HR practices than the nonprofit world. Way better. You know, corporations actually probably treat largely their employees better than self-employed people treat themselves. So I don't know if this works. But okay, but they got some working practices from their old way of working, but which ones? So this is a place where you could say, such as, from the old way of working, such as blank, right, blank, and blank. Because right now I don't know exactly, I have the sense, maybe it means overworking, maybe it means not taking lunch breaks, maybe it means, but this is Debbie's assessment of the situation. This isn't the symptom. So then the question to ask when you have something like this is, okay, so if they've carried over XYZ practices, what is the consequence of that? What are the symptoms that happen as a result of this? The sense I get, given that the word regenerative, sustainable is built in, old ways of working, is a burnout. But if you're trying to sell prevention, it's not going to work. If you're trying to say, hey, let me help you build this business without burning out, is no, they're not ready until they've burned out. All right, they're keeping very busy with most of their attention going into creating the perfect product or service, believing that will lead to the most sales without realizing this is just one piece of the puzzle. Okay, so right, so here's the situation. Okay, so this here, without realizing is one, that's point of view. And the situation could be something like this. So, okay, you know how a lot of corporate escapees who've created a business as a coach, consultant, or wellness practitioner have spent months or years keeping very busy. We want to shorten this as much as possible, creating the perfect product or service, and no one is buying. And now they're wondering, do I need to go back and work for the man? Right? Like that's an example of the type of situation we might be talking about. But the fact that they've spent a lot of time perfecting a product, that's not a problem. That's not an issue. That's good for them. Yeah, they want to be proud of their craft. The fact that they aren't aware that there's other parts, well, I mean, but so what? Who cares? What's the problem of all that? Well, the problem is nobody's buying and they're broke. Right. Right. So it could be that, right, nobody's buying. They burned through all of their savings. Now they're wondering, do I need to go back and work for the man? So it could be that, and this, but it could also be, and they have no idea why it's not working. Could be either or both of those. But so if this is island A, then island B has to be, I'm going to help you figure out why this wasn't working. Island B is just clarity. And if island A is, am I going to have to go back and work for the man? And what they're craving is, no, I want to make this work. It's like, I'm going to help you make this work. We're going to do this. You know. And if island A is also, and they are burning out. So you see what I'm saying? Those are three different takes on this potential island A, and I don't know which one it is, which one's primary. And I would suggest you pick one of those or another one, but hone it in. Because island A, I want to be able to sum it up in 3 words. Like, burning out. Boom, got it? Because then island B will do the opposite of that. Right? So the resource will support them in building a framework that's based on their core mission and ways of working that align with that, right? So this point of view, this is what you think they need. They're not craving this. Currently a workbook, but plan to make the webinar. We'd love some ideas of hubs to use. So can't come up with hubs because I don't know this yet. And I also don't know the, what is it? I also don't know this yet, the psychographics. And that's a lot of hubs will come from this. So I'm not clear about this. I'm not clear about that. So I can't come up with hubs. But Debbie, give it a shot. Bring it back with another round, and maybe we'll see. I'm probably not the best person to ask for hubs, but I can guarantee you if you clarify that, it'll be easier for hubs. So try bringing back another version of it. I can give you feedback on the niche, and that will then help you be able to go out and find hubs.
Can you give just a few quick examples of psychographics versus demographics, just to make it clear for anyone?
Thank you. So psychographics. I am into permaculture. Demographic. I'm 48 years old. The psychographic. I eat a traditional foods diet, and I'm really aligned with the philosophy of the Weston A. Price Foundation. Demographics. I'm 6'4", and I made, $20 million last year. And I live in Duncan, BC. Those are all demographics. Psychographic. I'm fundamentalist Southern Baptist Christian. That's the psychographic. Versus I'm spiritual but not religious. That's the psychographic. Yeah, those would be some examples.
Thank you, Tad. I hope that helps, Debbie. And also, I was thinking about what's coming up. On the 27th of March, as you say, there is the Ideal Client webinar, a 2-hour deep dive into just this thing with lots more covered in it. Super interesting, informative. That's $25, free in the membership as well. And it's happening on the 27th of March. And that might offer some extra information for this. There's also your free first Thursdays, and the next one's on the 4th of April. So Debbie, if you've got ideas, when you find out more information about that Island A, and then feel free to bring it back to Tad. The marketingforhippies.com/events is the first entry there. You're very welcome to bring back your information there and get a live one-on-one moment with Tad as well, so you can have a bit of back and forth. Super recommended.